Is it a mistake to think that our lives have no meaning? How often we fail to recognize what does matter and focus on what we believe is missing in our existence? What is the purpose of existence? What is the meaning of life? Why are we here? What is it all about?
The meaning of life is something we keep coming back to in uncertain times and while looking at the stars. The search for life's meaning has produced many scientific, theological, philosophical, and metaphysical speculations throughout human history.
The abundance of answers came from different cultural and ideological backgrounds, and different people and cultures believe different things. You exist, and therefore you matter. Surely, there must be more to the meaning of life than simply assigning a value to our own existence. One, biological life, origin and nature. The idea that all life on Earth has a common origin became well established only in the 20th century. The process by which different life forms have developed throughout history via genetic mutation and natural selection is explained by evolution. In Darwin's theory, there is not necessarily a ladder of progress from simple to more complex forms. Simple organisms can be as evolutionarily successful as complex ones. This allowed the idea that all life, simple and complex, had a single origin in the distant past. The exact mechanisms of how life originated, abiogenesis, are unknown. The most famous and notable hypotheses are: the RNA word hypothesis suggests that life on Earth began with a simple RNA molecule that could copy itself without help from other molecules. And the iron-sulfur world hypothesis, metabolism without genetics, proposes that early life may have formed on the surface of iron sulfide minerals. It was developed by retrodiction from extant biochemistry in combination with chemical experiments. At the end of the 20th century, formed on insight from the gene-centered view of evolution, biologists George C. Williams, Richard Dawkins, and David Haig concluded that if there is a primary function to life, it is the replication of DNA and the survival of one's genes. However, this view doesn't have universal agreement. Responding to an interview question, what it is all for, James Watson stated, "I don't think we are for anything. We are just the products of evolution."
2. Origins of the universe. The best supported theory of our universe's origin centers on an event known as the Big Bang. This theory was born of the observations that galaxies are moving away from our own at enormous speed in all directions, as if they had all been set in motion by an explosive force. A Belgian priest named Georges Lemaitre first proposed the Big Bang theory in the 1920s, when he suggested that the universe began from a single primordial atom and then expanded and stretched to grow as large as it is right now. The Big Bang theory was met with much skepticism when it was first introduced, but with time it has become supported by several independent observations. We can only describe the early universe from 10 to 43 seconds after the Big Bang, where zero time corresponds with infinite temperature. In the first second after the universe began, the surrounding temperature was about 5.5 billion degrees Celsius, according to NASA. The cosmos contained a vast array of fundamental particles, such as neutrons, electrons, and protons. These decayed or combined as the universe got cooler. A theory of quantum gravity would be required to understand events before that time. Many physicists have speculated about what would have preceded this limit and how the universe was born. For example, one interpretation is that the Big Bang occurred coincidentally, and bearing in mind the anthropic principle, a group of principles attempting to determine how statistically probable our observations of the universe are, given that we could only exist in a particular type of universe to start with. It is sometimes interpreted as implying the existence of a multiverse. While the majority of the astronomical community accepts the theory, there are some theorists who have alternative explanations besides the Big Bang theory, such as eternal inflation. According to eternal inflation, the inflationary phase of the universe's expansion lasts forever throughout most of the universe, or an oscillating universe, a universe following an eternal series of oscillations, each beginning with a Big Bang and ending with a big crunch. In the interim, the universe would expand for a period of time before the gravitational attraction of matter causes it to collapse back and undergo a bounce. There wasn't a single star in the universe until about 180 million years after the Big Bang. It took that long for gravity to gather clouds of hydrogen and forge them into stars, on which we look and think, well, there is some meaning to life. But what is it?
3. Our mind. The nature and origin of consciousness and the mind itself are obviously also extensively debated in science. Some people believe that the origin of consciousness is one of the most intractable mysteries. According to standard materialistic doctrine, consciousness, like space-time, before the invention of general relativity, plays a secondary role and is considered to be just a function of matter and a tool for the description of the truly exist material world. Hypotheses of consciousness and space-time explain consciousness in describing a space of conscious elements, often including a number of extra dimensions, and they play around questions such as: is time a process which flows? Is time a dimension in which processes occur? Does time actually exist? Electromagnetic theories of consciousness, saying that the electromagnetic field generated by the brain is the actual carrier of conscious experience. McFarlane proposes that digital information from neurons is integrated to form a conscious electromagnetic information field in the brain. Consciousness is suggested to be the component of this field that is transmitted back to neurons and communicates its state externally. Quantum mind theories use quantum theory explaining the process of free will through quantum phenomena. Might it be that a quantum brain can hold onto two mutually exclusive ideas at the same time, just as quantum objects can be in two places at once? Some scientists, like Russian-American theoretical physicist Andrei Linde, believes that consciousness might have its own internal degrees of freedom, and that one's perceptions may be as real as, or even more real than, material objects. He suggests the possibility that consciousness may exist by itself, even in the absence of matter, just like gravitational waves, excitations of space in the absence of protons and electrons. The universe and the observer exist as a pair. I cannot imagine a consistent theory of the universe that ignores consciousness, Linde says. He explains that our knowledge of the world begins not with matter, but with perceptions. We know that our pain exists, our colors and tastes also exist, and we do not need any proof of their existence, because these events are a part of our lives and everything else is a theory. The model of the material world, obeying the laws of physics, is so established that soon we forget where we started and believe that matter is the only reality and perceptions are only helpful for its description. And we almost never think about its limitations until we address some really deep and complicated issues, which do not fit into our model of reality. The research in quantum cosmology proved not once that the mere statement of a problem, which might at first glance seem entirely metaphysical, can sometimes, upon further reflection, take on real meaning and become highly significant for the further development of science.
4. Significance and value of life in psychology. We are all hungry for meaning, for purpose, for the feeling that our life is worth something. We can find meaning in every situation, every event, and every context, or we can deny it. After all, meaning can have a different meaning for everyone. Positive psychology is the scientific study of the good life, or the positive aspects of the human experience that make life worth living, and researchers throughout the years discovered factors that lead to life satisfaction. Full engagement in activities, making a fuller contribution by utilizing our own personal strengths, finding meaning by investing in something larger than the self. Life satisfaction is not only more stable and longer lasting than happiness, it is also more extensive in its scope. It is our feeling about our life and how satisfied we are with how it's going. There are plenty of factors that contribute to life satisfaction: work, romantic relationships, relationships with friends and family, personal development, health and wellness, and many others. However, the main contributing factors to life satisfaction are not completely understood yet, and the weight they are given by each individual varies. Neuroscience assures that reward is important in daily life, and pleasure is essential to a normal sense of well-being, and some stimuli are more likely to elicit pleasure than others. We cannot deny that sensory pleasure, like food intake as well as sex, are likely to be fundamentally basic. In addition to these basics, there are a large number of higher-order pleasures that are eminent to humans, and include monetary, artistic, musical, altruistic, and transcendent pleasures. Pathological losses of pleasure may be a devastating part of many affective disorders, ranging from depression to schizophrenia and addiction. If one believes that the meaning of life is maximizing pleasure and to ease general life, then this allows for making predictions about how to act to achieve this.
5. Meaning of life. The most common definitions of meaning in life involve three components. Personal meaning, or as described by recurrent one, cognizance of order, coherence and purpose in one's existence, the pursuit and attainment of worthwhile goals, and an accompanying sense of fulfillment. In 2016, Martella and Steger defined meaning as coherence, purpose, and significance.
And Wang has proposed a four-component solution to the question of meaning in life: purpose, understanding, responsibility, and enjoyment. A worthy purpose or a significant life goal. Sufficient understanding of who you are, what life demands of you, and how you can play a significant role in life. You alone are responsible for deciding what kind of life you want to live, and what constitutes a significant and worthwhile life goal. You will enjoy a deep sense of significance and satisfaction only when you have exercised your responsibility for self-determination and actively pursue a worthwhile life goal.
Emerging research also shows that meaning in life predicts better physical health outcomes. Greater meaning has been associated with a reduced risk of Alzheimer disease, reduced risk of heart attack among individuals with coronary heart disease, reduced risk of stroke, and increased longevity. We might not understand many things about ourselves and the universe, but what is clear is that we have to find our own meaning. The meaning of life is whatever you ascribe it to be. Being alive is the meaning.